Okay, great. All right, at this time, I will call to order the Tewksbury Finance Committee meeting for March 1st, 2021. We're going to continue with our budget reviews. Tonight, we have the DPW. I see the DPW crew in one of my spots here. Which particular one are we going to go through first?
Why don't we start with the general fund budget, and I'll have Brian go through, we can start with administration, and he can work his way through engineering, highway, fleet, snow and ice, forestry. So,
all right, so we'll start with the admin.
Yeah, admin budget.
Okay. I can share that in just a moment. Find my controls. Okay, can you see my screen? Okay.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, ready to go?
Brian, I think we are up. Yep.
Okay. Hello,
Welcome.
everyone. Sorry to be meeting like this, but I guess it's just what it is. I want to give a quick overview of the budget itself, and then I'll start right in with administration. The overall DPW general fund budget is up all divisions 0.9%, not even 1% over fiscal year 21, for a total increase of $32,491, including salaries, operating, and capital outlay. The increase in salaries for all general fund divisions and before allocations and cost of living increase is added is $24,227, or 1.1%, which supports 27.8 full-time equivalents. Operating after the addition of supplements is up 32,264, or 2.3%. There were $35,000 in supplements added. The increases are offset by capital outlay with a reduction in $24,000. So the divisions supported by the general fund are administration, engineering, highway, forestry, snow and ice, and fleet. Begin on administration. There's an overall decrease in the budget of $2,809, or 0.5%. Salaries are down $2,129. And the breakdown is regular salaries increased $2,386. Although base salary is up $4,386 due to steps, there's an offset by the loss of $2,000 in longevity, which is the retired Sue Patterson's longevity payment. Permanent part-time salary is up $1,050 due to step increases. I added $4,000 to the car allowance, which includes the car allowance and snow stipend for the assistant director of highway and forestry. And then sick leave buyback dropped $9,569 due to terminal pay being removed from the budget. Operating is down also $680. There's a slight decrease in the utilities of $2,000. Leases and contracts are down $800. That's due to a modified lease that we have for our copier. We increased $2,000 in professional services to include a contingency for wetland flagging and right-of-way survey. All other supplies is up $180 due to additional DOT testing, and we reduced dues and memberships by $50. If you have any questions, we could probably go by each division if you have questions.
Yeah, I'll go around each person on each budget here. So, Rich, do you want to kick us off for this one? Do you have any questions, Brian?
Could we? I was looking at the narrative that you sent out, Brian. Thank you. Just wondering how the 2020 data compared to 2019, is that similar in scope to how many work order requests were entered for each division?
Are you looking at the measures that were sent out, sir?
Yes. Oh, please call me
Okay.
Rich. Yes.
Okay, Rich. The measures, the work order system, we've only really had up and going now for about 2 years, somewhere in there. And we've become more and more, not only used to, but just part of the way we do work is using it more. So those have seen an uptick in the use. But for the most part, our services, the other measures in there are about the same, I would say. Go ahead.
2020, we had, because of everyone working from home, we had an extreme amount of water consumed and sewage collected. So we definitely had a lot more pump calls because of people flushing rags and wipes, and we produced a lot more water. So I mean, on the plant end, there's probably a lot more maintenance tasks done up there.
Yeah,
It's kind of hard to quantify as like a work order, but I just wanted to add that it was an unusual year for water and sewer.
yeah. Then we also had a drought last year that affected consumption, and in the beginning of 2020, or actually the second half of 2020, was our production dropped off a little bit because of we had limited staffing.
Okay, and on the engineering, we had 108 new sewer connections last year. I know that's probably going down every year. Is that a fair statement?
That is a fair statement. It is going down, but it's not going down significantly. I'd say in the last 7 years, we've averaged about 120 a year. And now we're down 108 this past year. So it is a decrease, but it's not significant.
Okay, and is that because of probably because of failed systems due to when you sell your house, you gotta have it tested out?
There's that piece of it, and there's also the new development piece.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, forgot about new development.
Homes and new businesses and things like that, new building.
Okay,
If I may jump in, Rich?
sure.
Yeah, this is the first year that we've provided this kind of information. What you'll see next year is, how we compared ourselves to this particular year. As we go on, we'll continue to show past years so you have a sense of where we're putting our effort.
Yeah, I tend to be data driven, so I'd love seeing the data. Thank you for what you sent out. The only other, I just wanted to comment, with all the water breaks, you guys certainly did a banner job keeping up with them. I know we used a lot more, you said we used a lot more water, and what's under the streets are getting old, and you guys certainly do a great job keeping up with it. I know it's frustrating to residents at times, but I just wanted to thank you for keeping up with the water main breaks. Other than that, I have no questions yet. Who knows?
Okay. Susan, do you have any questions on the administration budget?
No, I don't.
Okay. Dave?
Yes, just one on administration. Brian, I noticed in your budget priorities under administration, you were looking for $4,000 for replacement of 4 desktops and 2 screens. That doesn't look like, obviously, in the computer equipment, you have that in the budget, but you did mention it's funded through the IT department. Is that where that would be, or is it not in the budget anywhere at all?
Dave,
I can,
go ahead, Richard.
I can jump in. It isn't, we have that within the IT budget.
Okay,
The IT budget actually had an increase in its computer equipment budget this year. But even this current year, his budget includes DPW.
perfect. Yeah, that's what I wanted to make sure of. That's it, Mr. Chairman, on the admin budget.
Thanks, Dave. Tom, do you have any questions from the admin budget?
Yeah, I just was curious, Mr. Chairman, to Larry. The stormwater items that are now being outsourced in the stormwater accounts, the enterprise, on the operating budget that you presently have submitted,
Did we lose Tom?
Yeah, we lost him.
All right. Jason, do you have any questions while we're waiting?
catch
Oh, wait,
basin.
wait.
It's,
Oh, there he
Um,
goes.
we lost you for a while there.
yeah, I seem to having a problem with my connection.
Can you restate the question?
On the operating budget, what line items have been impacted by the new stormwater?
I didn't quite get that, but none of the line items in administration have been impacted by the new stormwater enterprise budget. In administration.
Under administration, okay. Then I'll wait for I'll take that same question under the highway department.
Yes, there you'll probably see some changes, Tom.
Okay. I just need to know the line items because I went back and I looked at, when I reviewed your budget,
Yeah.
I went back into the previous years and looked for the impacts based on what we talked about last year on the stormwater.
Okay.
But we can discuss it, Mr. Chairman, under highway, I guess. Sorry about that.
Okay. Jason, do you have any questions on this one?
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. And I'm fine as well. So which one do we want to go to next?
Engineering?
Engineering, let me find that one.
You want to go ahead? Yeah, if you want. Okay.
Find mouse. Come on up.
Yeah.
Right one there.
Good to go?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Engineering, overall, the increase is 12,781 or 2.4%. Salaries are up 9,764 or 1.9% of that. Regular salaries increased to 9,267 due to step increases and a $500 increase in longevity. Operating is up 3,114. Under professional services, there was an increase of 5,250 for software support for a module, a quick asset management tool module, and $250, excuse me, for AutoCAD, which is split between the engineering department and water distribution. You'll see that later. Also, there was a $4,000 supplement for right-of-way surveys. We've been doing more of these where people have fences on within the right-of-way. They block sight lines to at intersections. we come along and we say, you have to move your fence back. So what we do is we'll actually survey that corner and we'll show them where that line is, and then we have them move it back to the line. We've been doing more of these. So there's a, where am I here? Also a supplement, okay, to the right-of-way surveys. There was a decrease to all other supplies, testing of outfalls, and dues and membership increased $64. And that's pretty much it.
Okay. Rich, do you have questions on the engineering budget?
Yes, could you explain what the quick access tool does?
Go ahead.
Sure, thank you. So the quick asset tool is used by town staff as well as our consultants, primarily for outfall testing as part of the MS4 permit. It's loaded on the tablets. We're out in the field. We test and screen the outfalls, and we can upload the data right there in real time. And it updates our database, and we can use that on our other GIS platforms.
Outfalls. You gotta give me a little.
So the outfalls are anywhere where the town's drainage system discharges. So the outlet pipe for the catch basins and drain manholes in town.
Okay.
You know, well over 400 of those were screened last year. We've got, and we're still finding more and more as we go through this process.
Okay, thank you.
Any others, Rich?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Susan, any questions on the engineering budget?
No.
All right, Dave?
Just one, under the software that's used under professional services, are those things that are hosted locally and managed by our IT department? Or are any of these software as a service cloud-based?
They are cloud-based software.
That's excellent. Thank you. That's the only question I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Tom, do you have any questions?
Just for him to go to the bathroom. Well, he already said he's
You were muted.
in the job.
I have none on the engineering.
All right, thank you. Jason?
No question, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, and I'm fine as well. Which one do you want to move to next?
Highway?
Highway. All right, let me pull that one up. To the highway. Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
Highway overall, there's an increase of $17,922 or 1.4%. Of that, salaries are up $19,092 or 2.2%. Regular salaries for grade and steps increased $16,942. That's 6 employees, and longevity increased $2,150. That was 4 employees. Operating is down 1,170 or 0.3%. There are 3 line items that, for the most part, are impacted here. Stormwater, leases and contracts, and all other supplies. And I'm going to start with the last one, and then I'll address the other 2. All other supplies increased 820, was due to a decrease in miscellaneous supplies of 440, and an increase in the BPE and DOT exams for 1,260. The 2 other line items, I'm just going to, when we established the Stormwater Enterprise Fund, the budget was formulated to keep the stormwater line item within the highway budget level funded. All incremental increases in service costs, new or expanded services were to be budgeted to the enterprise. Both budgets had common elements. They had street sweeping in both budgets. They have material management in both budgets. They had police details with regard to catch basin cleaning in both budgets, and they had catch basin cleaning in both budgets. What we tried to do in this budget is to move some of these elements all within one budget or the other budget without impacting the line items within the highway. I hope I said that. Again, so the two line items that were adjusted were there was an increase in $600 in stormwater drainage due to shifts in costs, as I've just explained. And then there was a decrease of $2,590 in leases and contracts. Because of again the shift. What we did was we took all the catch basin cleaning, the actual contractor who comes in and cleans the basin, his service we charged to highway. All the materials management, the street sweeping and catch basin cleaning, we moved to the water sewer enterprise, stormwater enterprise. So now if we want to go out and contract, we're not pulling monies from two different accounts for these four different items: police details, catch basin cleaning, street sweeping, and materials management. I would also say that Dave, with his experience down in Stoughton, also changed the way that we bid our catch basin cleaning. And we bid the cleaning separate from the materials management, and we've been able to save monies that way. So that was a good thing for us. So I'm sure you have some more questions, but that's pretty much what we did with these two line items and the highway budget.
All right, that seems to make a lot of sense. Rich, you want to start us off again?
Yes, could you go to the tab that, let's see, we're at 2 sections ago to
Like leases and contracts or other supplies?
it's that's right there. That's the one. Thank you.
What is it?
Let's see. So, police details for painting work can you explain the rules around when we need a police detail and when we don't? Based on road, it's based on size of the job.
It's based on the police telling us, well, it's based on the road under the bylaw. And then within the bylaw, they can determine whether or not a situation is a risk or hazardous, and they can dictate police details. And in this case, they have. So when we're on for pretty much every night that we have them in, we have a police detail.
Okay. And sweeper. We still run the sweeper, right?
We have a sweeper, and because of the size of the town, we contract out. In this case, it's one sweeper for 25 days to supplement. Actually, we bring in two sweepers for the most part for two and a half weeks. So we have 3 sweepers out when we first start. They finish up, and we continue to finish the rest of the town.
How is that sweeper holding up? the one that we own? How old is it?
It's, something like that, yeah, it's about 7 years. It's holding up.
Holding up?
Yeah. They maintenance that every spring when it comes in. After the sweeping program is done in the spring, they maintenance it, and then before it goes out in the fall, so it gets some attention. And it's winter.
Okay.
Yeah.
And during the winter, it's stored inside?
That's correct.
Okay. On vehicles, are we in desperate need of any new vehicles?
Well, we've put forth a capital budget inclusive of, let's see, there's two or three trucks in there. I think there are, no, 2 trucks and a loader. And it's just keeping up with those that need to be replaced. I mean, there was a time when we were in desperate need, but I think the town manager has been very supportive of us. And we do have some good equipment. We do have, what, 1990 something in there this year?
I believe in 94.
In 1994, we have on the replacement schedule. But there's,
So we're not desperate for anything.
well, I would say we are. The loader is certainly something that we could. It is needed and necessary. The 1994 truck is absolutely necessary. But next year you have another $500,000 to $600,000 worth of equipment that we're going to be asking for. So every year there is something. Putting it off only builds that backlog of equipment.
Yep, 94 that's older than. Certainly older than a lot of cars.
Yeah, it's old.
1994, my son was born. Okay, that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thanks, Rich. Susan, do you have any questions for the highway budget?
No.
Okay, Dave?
Yeah, mine's more going back to the priorities. So under highway, a couple of things that catch my eyes about town infrastructure, short-term fixes failing at an increasing rate, and about the investment in road resurfacing and reconstruction, or lack thereof. How are we addressing that from a budgetary perspective? Are we, obviously it's not in the highway budget, but are we looking at capital plan budgeting that would start to address some of these? Because they're not going to age well.
But we're maybe talking about streets themselves.
Well, town infrastructure has expanded and elements repaired with short-term fixes are failing at an increasing rate and not addressed without a suitable capital plan schedule.
Okay,
So,
I see where you are now. Well, one thing, there are 2 areas that we've been looking at. One is more of an operational plan, one is more of a capital plan. As you know, the stormwater enterprise has freed up the Chapter 90 money that we used to spend mostly on stormwater, has freed that up to be able to put together a more robust road capital agenda. At the same time, the Stormwater Enterprise Fund allows for capital improvement of stormwater elements, culverts, drains, things of that sort that need to be fixed. So it's done a lot having the Stormwater Enterprise approved. More operationally, we do see a need for, and I have to give the credit to Scott and Dave here because they work very well together And they're the ones who came up with this idea of putting a couple of guys together from highway, a couple of guys together from water and sewer, and creating a maintenance group that will go out and address trenches, small failing locations around town so people have a better drive. And at the same time, will save the street from further failure. So, yeah, we are doing things. We could certainly, though, use more manpower, or whatever you want to call it, but just in-house resources to address the issues, because it's a very big town. And
I know you guys have been fighting an uphill battle to get the funding to do these kinds of things and resurfacing, and I compliment you on what you've been able to do with what you have. But I guess, you know, we're building firehouses, we're building schools, Richard, I guess, what is our long-term plan to start impacting our infrastructure, the roadways?
Well, I think, as Brian had mentioned, I think you're going to see a difference when we present the capital budget next week to the committee, and I present it to the board tomorrow night. The stormwater enterprise fee has freed up a fair amount of money that can go towards roadway and sidewalks, things like that. You know, the priority right now is to continue using Chapter 90 money and other general fund reserve funds to address infrastructure. But, you know, we're trying, if we can get the DPW facility done as our next big building, as you mentioned, we've done schools, we've done fire stations, we've done other buildings. If we can get the DPW building, at least phase 1 going, and hopefully phase 2, then really the last big capital projects that we'll have left will be water infrastructure, the distribution system, and our roadways. So
Excellent.
I think that's how we're looking at it.
That's what I wanted to hear. Thank you, guys. That helps a lot. That's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Tom, do you have any questions on the highway budget? I think you had one earlier, and you're on mute. Tom, you're on mute. We can't hear you. Sure, it's a great question, though. Tom, you're on mute.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to defer my questions after what Larry said on the highway department and what things were changed with regard to the line items. I just have to go back in some of the history and do some comparisons with regard to the stormwater enterprise budget that we received this year. So I'm going to defer my questions to a later date.
Okay. Jason, do you have any questions on the highway budget?
No, Mr. Chairman, no questions at this time.
Okay. Oop, hold on a second. I got something popping up here. Okay. The other question I had was similar lines to Dave, was around the road resurfacing, and I see that it, from FY19 to FY20, it took a significant jump in that road resurfacing. I'm sure I forget what we talked about a couple of years ago, but can you remind me what if that was like a consolidation from another line, or have we increased our capabilities in road resurfacing, or what's going on there?
We added a supplement for $40,000. It was for a mill and fill program. And the idea of that is to, and we've done, I don't know if you drive Whipple Road, but we have a number of, or Brown Street, I think was the other location that we did, where we have a contractor come in and we used some monies from the highway budget and some monies from the water budget because they have some trenches, larger trenches out there. And we pull that together and put a contract where they come in and they do small areas.
Okay, so the last couple of years, we've increased our capabilities of doing that sort of work, right?
That's correct. And the
Okay.
focus there is going to be on our main road.
On Main Street, is that what you're saying?
On main streets, on the mains, the arterials in town.
Oh, okay. All right, that's all I had for this one. We can move on to,
Snow and ice,
which one?
snow and ice.
Snow and ice, all right. Let's see.
Mr. Chairman, if I can just jump in. Brian, I'm not sure you did this in the beginning of the meeting. I might have missed it, but can you introduce who you're with? And who their roles?
I apologize. Are you going to introduce stuff? I have Kevin Hardeman, the town engineer. Dave Lazat, the highway, forestry.
Social
and
distancing.
Social distancing, yeah. And fleet, assistant director, and the assistant director of water and sewer, Scott Bray, and myself.
Welcome, gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you and welcome.
Sorry about that.
Okay, I have the snow and ice up there. Doesn't look like it's changed much.
Level funded, 256.
So, does anybody have any questions on the snow and ice budget?
I have none.
No, Mr. Chairman.
The same each year, so. Okay. What next?
Forestry,
Sounds good.
the forestry budget, as you know, there's no salaries in the forestry budget. Salaries were incorporated into the highway a number of years ago. The operating budget is up 27,000 or 31.3%. This is due to the addition of 25,000 in supplements. Leases and contracts is up 3,000 overall due to an increase in $2,400 for the cost of crane work to stay level serviced, and then $600 for the cost of the mower rental to stay level service, and then we added 20,000 for contracted crane services in that line item. All of the supplies, there's a reduction in the work zone safety and arbor supplies because we've been focusing on those supplies the last few years. And so I reduced that, but added a $5,000 police detail supplement. That's pretty much it for that one.
Okay, we'll go around the horn again. Rich?
No question, just a question on the DOT medical exam. Is that the same price as we saw 2 budgets ago?
Yeah, I believe it's 125.
Okay. I thought I saw 120. That's all.
Okay, Susan, any questions?
No, thank you.
Dave?
Yeah, just more of a curiosity question. When I look at the numbers in forestry under the DPW measures, the 83 trees removed through efforts of both town staff and contracted services, were those like planned? Or was it more reactionary things that, trees have come down and proved to be a danger, that kind of thing?
Well,
I'm just trying to get an understanding of how much of it is planned versus reactionary work.
there were a few reactionary trees in there, believe me, some scary ones. But for the most part, they are planned in that we pull together a number of trees. Those that have to be posted, we post, and then we get prices on a block of trees at a time. There is some emergency work where we'll bring in a contractor, or we'll have our own staff go out and address something that is imminent and needs to happen right away. But for the most part, I want to say that they are planned. Would you say so, Dave?
We only had about 3 last year that were emergency tree operations.
I kind of expected you to say that, which leads to my next question is, do you have like a tree plan, a forestry plan of where you're going to look and that kind of thing?
We have pretty much annually. We did it this past year. We have someone come in, certified arborist, consulting arborist, comes in and basically is driven around town, and he actually looks for hazard trees. From that list, and we're going to go back there probably about 4 or 5 years anyway. We went to town meeting and we ended up getting like 150,000. It was the same process. It was the first time we did that.
Right.
We found a lot of trees. We addressed those. I think by the storms that we've had and the times that we've had to react, Kevin and his crew have done a very good job at identifying and getting these things done.
If there is a forestry plan that you could share, I would love to see it.
I don't have one necessarily lined out like I don't actually have a document.
It's not a critical thing for you to produce. I just thought if you had one, I would be curious seeing it. It was more curiosity, not anything that I want you to spend time on. But thank you. That's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Tom, do you have questions on the forestry?
No, I don't.
Okay. Jason?
Rob, I have one more question. With respect to is Natural Grid in charge of keeping the trees away from the wires? That's something we don't do, right? They take care of that?
Yes. We actually call them in from time to time. If there's something within 10 feet of an energized line. And for the most part, they're responsible for doing the clearing of their lines. We don't do any of that. We do find, like I said, that there are situations where a tree we want to address is within proximity to an energized line, and we would either contract that out or have National Grid come in and do the work.
Okay.
Okay, Jason?
Rich stole my thunder. That was going to be my question. No, I have no further questions this time.
Thanks. So you had an increase in the leases and contracts for the private tree companies. Is that because we have more than we can handle, I guess, or are you seeing more trees and needing to be removed, or like what's the, and is that likely to continue, or are we, I don't know.
more and more of our work we've found, it has been twofold. One, backyard trees. We have all kinds of people looking for us to address town-owned land, trees in their backyard that they would like to have removed. We just don't walk in and say, yeah, we're going to remove them. If it's a hazard, if we deem it a hazard, then we will react to that. We do have situations where trees do come down in people's backyards, and we take responsibility to clean those up. The other area that we've found is just there's a lot of very large trees here in town, and we have 3 guys who basically do forestry operations. It's just not enough to keep up with it. So we've averaged, and I'm going to take you back 4 or 5 years ago when we infused $150,000 into a capital or into that operation. We've been using that for the past 4 or 5 years. That money's gone now, and this 20,000 request will help that. I think we had been budgeted for the most part around $40,000 to $45,000, and we've been spending on average about $65,000 a year for the last 4 or 5 years. So it does actually, if we didn't have that, it would be in a deficit, and we'd have to then pick and choose our priorities. And I think if we deem something a hazard, we should address it.
Yep. Okay. Makes sense. All right. I think that does it for the forestry budget. Which one do you want to go to now?
I'm sorry if I feel like I'm yelling at you guys. I really do apologize. I'm not sure if I'm coming off like that, but
No, sounds all right.
okay. So for fleet, there's an actual overall decrease in fleet of $22,403, or 2.6%. That's taking capital outlay into consideration, where there's a decrease of $24,000. So that's pretty much where the overall decrease comes from. Salaries, there is a decrease in the elimination of the longevity cost for the former supervisor, $2,500. Operating is up $4,100, 0.8%. And that's, we have a different work order system geared toward fleet operations. And the maintenance on that, annual maintenance on that is $4,100. There was a supplement of $10,000 for equipment maintenance, and we reduced our gas and diesel by $10,000. And that's pretty much the budget.
Okay. Rich, questions on the fleet budget?
Yes, I have one question. You mentioned you reduced gas and diesel. Gas and diesel's going up in price. Any comment?
Yes. For the last, I want to say the last, let me just go to the gas and diesel. Gas and diesel. I mean, we've been paying, this is FY21, we're paying $1.62 to $1.77 for a gallon of diesel. We don't pay what is on the pump. And for the last number of years, we've been actually incrementally increasing this to some degree. And I just think that we're at a point where we can take a look at this. And I know it's going up, and I don't know how far it's going to go up. But the last report that I got is that, the last report that I got, we were $1.77 a gallon.
Okay.
So I've tried to, in putting this together, look at that, and I'm looking at 265. So the price of gas has to be upwards of, beyond $3 in order for, I think, this not to work.
Okay, I'm just a little concerned because I think gas is gonna be beyond $3 this fiscal year, but that's just me. The other question I had was, you, let's see, it says, talked about a program, is it the Gas Boy software and support?
Yes.
What does that do?
That basically, to turn the pump on, you have to have a key, and and that key is associated with a particular vehicle. So it inventories what department, what vehicle is getting gas, and how much gas they get ongoing.
Okay, and is that information stored locally or on servers or in the cloud somewhere?
Is that cloud-based?
Yeah, it's a network.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's cloud-based, but it
Okay.
is stored, yes.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, Susan, do you have any questions on the fleet budget?
No, thank you.
Dave?
Just one. In the future, can you guys provide some numbers for what comes out of the work order system for fleet? I know you do a lot of good work for a lot of different departments. It's just not getting reflected anywhere in numbers.
Absolutely, Dave. It's it is a new work order system for them. It's different, like I said, than the one that highway and water
Right.
is. So it's new to them, and they actually like it down there. So it's a very good thing. But we can have those numbers for you. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep.
That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Tom, do you have any questions?
No.
Jason?
No questions this time, Mr. Chairman.
All right, and I'm fine as well. What do we have left?
We can go to sewer.
Okay. Find it here. Sewer, here we are.
Rob, before you jump into sewer, can I just mention one thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
So tomorrow night, I'll be presenting the water, sewer, stormwater, telemedia enterprise fund budgets to the Board of Selectmen. And I'll be going over the capital improvement plan, which I'll go back over with the Finance Committee next Monday. But as you go through these enterprise fund budgets, these will be the same budgets that I'll give an overview of tomorrow night. What's important to note is that rates for FY22 are not going to be going up. So as you review these budgets, just keep in mind there'll be no rate increase for water, sewer, or stormwater. That's it.
All right, good.
All right, you ready, guys?
Ready.
So for sewer, the overall sewer budget is up 4.8 1.87% over FY '21, with a total of 107,255. Increases to salary is 6.8% or 26,299, which support 3 full-time staff, the summer help, and a third of the assistant director's salary. Regular salaries are actually down 8,279, and that's due to the retirement of Dickie Stoddard, who's a long-time employee here, and that represents, for the most part, the longevity payment that he gets. License incentive is up, hoping that someone moving into that division, gets some licenses that we need. And then the terminal pay for Dickie is $34,478. On operating, it's up 80,956. Most of that being Lowell Sewer. But we've increased energy utilities slightly, 2,700 to operate pump stations. Repairs and maintenance are up 6,560 to stay level service. We have a 5,000 cost in there for new equipment. Leases and contracts are up 5,900 due to the elimination of the camera investigation. And we added an asset management software in there. Grinder pumps are slightly up by 833 with a small increase per pump. All other supplies is up 1,310 to include CDL medical exams and an increase in product for grease control. All other equipment is up 600 to include inspections on the 2 cranes. Lowell Sewer, like I said, is up 63,000, and staff development is down 653. That's sewer budget.
Okay. We'll go around with questions. Rich, you want to kick us off?
Sure. On the Lowell Sewer, looking like, we're back to, looks like what, a little less than a 2018 budgeted amount, or 2019 budgeted amount. What kind of leverage do we have any leverage here? Or is this something where we have to pay? Is it under contract or something?
It's under contract. There's a 20 or 25-year contract, Richard. I think it's 25.
It was a 25-year contract.
Yeah.
And what year are we in?
Probably 5.
5.
Okay. So are we expecting similar increases each year?
No, actually, this number is really more of a placeholder right now. It's an anticipated increase. I have to say that when we put together the contract, we were hoping that we would get better information faster so we could do our budgeting. So what they end up doing is they take last year's actual allocable expenses, and they charge us whatever our percent flow was over that same time period. That's what they charge us. And I've called over there, I've emailed, and I go through this every year before we go into budget season. and they don't have those numbers yet. But we will have those numbers soon enough. I was told that I would be getting them in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
And what we might be able to do is to adjust that number.
Okay. The other question I have is, it probably falls under the water, water treatment plant. This does not cover, this budget is not in that, right?
No, it doesn't cover the water treatment plant.
Okay,
There's another budget we'll get to before we're done.
that's what I thought. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Susan, questions on the sewer budget?
No, my question was answered.
Okay, Dave?
Yeah, just a follow-up on the Lowell sewer. We seem to have been at a steady state for years prior to like the last 2 years where the budget went down and now we're going back up to where we were. But I'm wondering in this situation where I know earlier in the discussion, because of the pandemic, we were using more water, we're producing more in the sewer. Could that number actually be even higher based on the fact that we could be using a lot more than we normally would in a steady state?
Actually, I track monthly consumption against Lowell's total flow. And our flow has been very consistent. We're around 7%, either side of 7. When we have, and it's typically in the winter that I find we have more I&I in the system, but they also have more I&I in the system.
Right.
So, like I say, we've been very consistent with regard to our percent of total flow at the plant.
Yeah, we may actually see a decrease in our total percent. Tingsboro and I believe Chelmsford are both looking to increase pretty substantially their output, which it'll be good for us because our percentage will be less of the total cost to run their plant.
All right, so the pandemic hasn't really thrown a monkey wrench in that for us.
I don't.
Probably not like to an extreme extent.
Excellent. Thank you. That's all the questions I had, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Tom, questions on the sewer budget?
Yeah, I had a question under operating for Larry. With the addition of the generators that we added to the sewer pump station, where did the cost increase go in the line items of operating?
Utilities.
It would be energy utility, and also we increased, I believe,
Energy utilities.
and we also increased leases and contracts because there's an increased maintenance on the generators for the PM we have to do.
So those two line items, that's why they increased, correct?
Yeah, that's the bulk of it.
How many generators do we add? 7?
9.
9 generators?
Yep. 8 natural gas and 1 diesel.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
8 natural gas and 1 diesel.
Okay, so the utilities went up because of that? Because they're tested once a week, right?
Yeah. It's like $12 somewhere in there that they roughly the cost per month.
Okay, thank you.
Where are we? Jason?
No question, sir.
Okay. Budget page. I had a question on, I think I read, I forget which document, but that the town's required to implement a collection system operations and maintenance plan.
Yeah.
Okay, and is that covered in this budget, one of the line items?
It's not. It's No, it's Pulte money. Yeah. That's being paid for out of
The gift account.
a gift account. The was it North Andover Pulte account? I believe. Was it North Andover? Andover.
Okay, so it's not something we're on the hook for?
Well, it is, but we're not paying for it out of operating, I guess is how I'd answer that.
Okay. And another
Well,
question I had
that was a capital budget that we paid it out of.
Another question I had, looking through some of these line items like other equipment, easement settlements. We budget 15,000 and don't typically use it, and then we have this emergency reserve fund. I'm just wondering if we could kind of I don't know, maybe not budget those and just use the emergency reserve fund, or is that not a thing we could do?
I've never used easement settlement.
Yeah, we can look at that, Rob. We kept the easement settlements in there because we never know if someone's gonna we're gonna need one, or if someone's gonna file a claim for having one of our pieces of equipment on their property, whether it's a pump station or something else. But we can definitely, and we did that as a precaution because we're having so many issues over the years. But we can look at consolidating those.
Yeah, okay, because I saw that and I was like, well, you never know if you need an easement payment or whatever. But then I saw the reserve fund and I'm like, well, maybe that could just cover those things that we don't typically use. But
yeah, we can look at that.
I guess that's all I had for this one. Anybody have any other follow-ups? Okay. Which water one? Want to go to?
Why don't we start with just distribution if you want?
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Water distribution. Overall, the water distribution budget is up 4.6%. For a total of 46,312. The increase in salaries is 39,906, which supports 6 full-time staff, 1 summer help, and a third of the assistant director's salary. Regular salaries increased 6,818 due to step increases. Longevity dropped 8,713 due to the retirement of Bob Belita, who's the working foreman in that division. Wage deferral increased 1,718, and terminal pay for Bob is $40,083. Operating is up $6,406 or 1.7%. Repairs and maintenance is up $2,740, which is adding a percentage to stay level in that line item and services. Leases and contracts dropped $2,660. We did add a percent to stay level. And we added beacon support and reduced AutoCAD software costs. All other supplies increased 906, with increase due to level service and a reduction in DOT exam. Meter replacement decreases 500 due to the removal of, last year we budgeted $4,000 for 2 commercial meters that we felt we had to replace. So that comes out, but we're adding back in 3,500 for the meter transmitting units, which we're finding the batteries failing on. And so we added that back in. Pretty much the pluses and minuses.
Okay. Guess we'll go around again. Rich?
Just had a question on meters. What's the lifespan of a meter, residential?
Approximately, the batteries are supposed to last for 10 years. The meter could go longer depending upon how much water really goes through it. But you don't want to go out there and, if you're going to go out and replace the MTU, sometimes you just want to replace the meter altogether. About 10 years to answer your question.
Okay. Boy, when did we start replacing all our meters? I'm just trying to think, sitting here in my house, how old is my meter? I honestly don't remember.
Probably about 10 years.
Yeah, it's going on 10 years.
It's going on 10 years.
We're putting out a request for proposals this spring to look at a potentially new meter, or maybe stick with what we have. But we're planning that process for replacement around town. Yeah, it'll be phased, I think, is the idea right now. We'll know a little bit better once we have responses on that.
And you guys know when the batteries go bad on the MTUs?
Yeah, we stopped getting a signal from the meter, and then we investigate as to why. But most likely it's a battery.
Okay, just as long as it doesn't beep and I don't hear like a smoke alarm beep. That happens at 2 a.m. every Saturday morning, it seems, when they go out. So it's an internal to your office will get notification that a resident's MTU did not give a signal back to you.
Yeah, we would know because we wouldn't be getting a read, and our meter billing tech would know that, and he would let us know. We send someone out to check on it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Susan, any questions on the water distribution?
No, thank you.
All right, Dave?
No questions.
Tom?
On distribution, no, not right now.
Okay. Jason?
No, sir.
All right, and I don't have any as well. So, filtration?
Okay, ready?
Think so.
Okay, water treatment. The overall water treatment budget is down 2.7%, or 60,512 over last year, this year, 21. Salaries increased 1.3, or 13,375, which support 13 full-time staff and a third of the assistant director's salary, and the billing clerk.
No, there's only
That's
water.
in water sewer.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, regular salaries increased 8,274 due to step increases, which were offset by longevity, which dropped 10,425, and the wage deferral fell by 2,797. Uniform allowance dropped 270. Sick leave buyback increased 5,071. Terminal pay. all other salaries increased. All other salaries increased 300 per license incentives. On the operating side, the operating budget is down 73,887 or 6%. We dropped utilities by 10,000. Repairs and maintenance dropped 23,000 by removing the rebuild of pump number 4 and rebuild and purchase flight pumps 25 and adding smaller items such as a spare basin pumps at a plus 2,000. Leases and contracts down 40 due to the rebuild of cross connection program. I have to applaud our new cross connection coordinator for his efforts in this program. He's redefined it, and we're leaving about $10,000 in that line item just in case he needs some support. All of the supplies jumped 250 to add an extra test for PFAS compounds, which the state has mandated. Chemicals dropped 18,747. Residual disposal is up 15,910, largely due to regulatory agencies and the process that we have to take to dispose of the materials. And staff development is up 1,700 due to the increase in staff and the upgrade of licensing. That's the water treatment.
Okay. Rich, any questions on water filtration?
Yes. So we talked earlier about all the stuff we're seeing in the sewer pipes now because of COVID, and because of people being home. How has that impacted the filtration plant?
You want to answer that?
Yeah,
Scott?
I'm sorry. So the question was, how has?
Go ahead.
So the question,
I'm sorry, I'll rephrase it.
thank
How
you.
has the increase in things that shouldn't be going in the sewer line to the water filtration plant impacted the filtration plant?
So I think you're asking about the sewage treatment plant, which we don't run. That's entirely Lowell utility. This is purely drinking water, so the sewage doesn't affect this.
Okay.
At all.
Okay.
And in kind of a tertiary way through the river, because we pull from the river and the plant's discharge into the river.
Point of information, Mr. Chairman. Who's speaking?
Scott Brink.
I'm sorry, who?
Scott Brink, it's the assistant director, Tom. Scott Brink, you met him last year, 2 years ago.
Of the water treatment plant.
Yeah, he oversees the water treatment plant, water distribution, and sewer.
Okay, that's Scott, right?
Scott, yes.
Okay.
Okay, so that's my bad on that part with the sewer versus water. The only other question,
no problem. Yeah.
the only other question I have is, with energy decreasing 10,000, is that, how do we do that? How do we manage that?
Sure. So there's two line items that Brian and I really took a hard look at this budget cycle. Brian tackled the energy utilities. It was always high. We were always carrying over money. We always seemed to have POs encumbered from previous years. And it became very difficult to know what we were actually spending annually because of that. And it also doesn't make sense to continue budgeting that way when it wasn't really what we were spending. So Brian, I mean, I can let him speak to it in more detail, like as how he did that. But we realized we were able to cut it just through analyzing what we're actually spending. and consuming in terms of gas and electricity. We did the exact same thing. Excuse me, exact same thing with the chemical line item. It was kind of artificially high for a long time. We really took a hard look at what we actually use and what we actually spend, and we're
That was my next question was about the chemical line item.
yeah, we're pretty comfortable that we're in a much more accurate window where we are now. I mean, we'll see how the next year goes. If everyone's still at home, we end up using a lot more. We used a lot of chemical this year. So basing it off of this year, this was an extreme year. Therefore, it's not that conservative of numbers. So we're pretty comfortable that this is probably where we'll be at.
Okay.
Compared to years past.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, Susan, any questions on the water filtration budget?
No, thank you.
All right, Dave?
Just one question on the priorities that you had listed for the budget, the replacement of the sludge sprocket drives and the applying for and receiving a beneficial use plan. Did those make it into the budget in here somewhere, or are they part of a capital plan?
No, those are in here. We always tuck in the small projects that go on throughout the plant, and they're usually they're not like major redesigns or reconstruction, so they're usually folded into the operating budget.
I was looking for it on another tab. That makes sense.
Okay. We had some big ticket items the past couple of years. The stuff we're tackling, or we'd like to tackle this coming year, is a little bit smaller, so that's the reason.
Perfect. Thank you. That was my only question.
Okay, Tom?
No questions.
Okay, Jason?
No questions, sir.
Okay, my question was on the utilities that we just kind of talked about. And let's see, what did I write down? It looked like the electricity was calculated using 910 million gallons at an average cost of $3.54 per million gallons. And I look, down at the bottom, I don't know if you can see my spreadsheet on the screen here, but the average of the last, whatever it is, 4 years, 5 years, was $3.54, which is what, $9 per million different. Just wondering if we calculated that as we wanted to. Is that 910? At 354, I had 320 when we have 315 up here. I mean, it's not a humongous difference, but just thought you might want to relook at that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know why I threw the FY20 out, and that's what would have because the 4-year average over there is 345, and the 5-year looks like 354.
Okay, I mean, if you're happy with that number.
But I'll look at that. But I do think the what Scott had indicated, that we've always seemed to carry more money in this line item, and rolling it over just complicates things. We should be budgeting more closely to what we need.
Okay, I just wanted to point it out just in case you accidentally use the wrong number.
I looked at that the other day.
Yeah, we'll take a look at it. Brian, I'm not trying to throw you under the bus. Brian did the energy utility, so we can take a harder look at it. It's been very confusing. There's a lot of accounts because there's a lot of different stations and things. So
okay.
Yeah, we'll look at it.
Yeah. And I was wondering if it ever come up about the fluoride we add to the water. If it's ever come up about not adding that, removing that from our water.
I I don't think so. I mean, I know there's a thought movement out there about that. We set all our standards by DEP and EPA, so and no, that wasn't not really any consideration of ours.
Okay, and it hasn't come up in past.
I've never gotten asked about that actually here.
Okay,
I do get calls. I've actually always wondered if I ever would get, but I haven't ever gotten a call about that.
all right. It's just some curiosity
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
I have no further questions. Anybody have any follow-ups on this one?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, a question for Scott. The two alum dewatering machines up on the second floor, the mezzanine level.
Yeah.
Do you keep maintenance logs on those?
We do.
Has any of them given you a problem in the last year or so?
The sprocket drives are part of that capital request item.
Okay.
Yeah, that has been requested to be, excuse me, worked on and replaced.
Okay. Because they've been sitting up there. I know you lead lag them on operation, but they've been sitting up there for a while. And if you have them in a capital plan, that would be good. Has the excuse me, has the Allen cost gone up or down?
The disposal cost for the sludge residuals?
The alum, yeah, used for
the chemical itself.
Yeah.
It has gone up. And actually, I believe this is a bid year for the consortium that we purchased through. So we'll know if it's going to increase or not. I'm looking at the.
Are you carrying an increase for it in your chemical budget?
Yeah, we carry. We always factor in extra fills, and we fluff the number a bit by a percentage. I'm not sure exactly what it is off the top of my head, but we do account for it for any kind of increase like that. 5%. Is that what it is? So Brian, it's a 5% contingency. So I can remember off the top of my head.
Okay, and how about
that's on top of also like having, as you can see, we have like the fill numbers you see there.
Yeah.
Everyone can see this, I think. Those are probably high. That would be like for a very extreme year in terms of the river quality and consumption.
Yeah.
They're probably slightly less than that. If we have money left over and we have the storage space, we'll purchase more. We have a 5% contingency on that. Plus we add an extra fill that's something that the previous operators, the primary operators, had always done in terms of their calculation. So we do put in some float in there for that kind of thing.
Okay. And Scott, how about the charcoal filtration train? Are you still using one or two?
I'm not sure. Are you talking about the filter beds or the train itself? I'm not sure.
The charcoal filter beds on the final pass.
Yep. Yes.
Are you using one or two?
Two.
You use them two every day?
I can't speak to that exactly. I'd have to check.
Okay.
But I think it's for the most part we do use two.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other additional questions for the filtration? Okay. What do we have?
Stormwater.
Is that the last one?
Excuse me?
Is that our final one?
It's the last one, yes, stormwater. I'm gonna ask Kevin Hardeman to present this one.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So as you know, this is the second budget for the stormwater enterprise. It started last budget cycle. Just to give you kind of an overview of that, we had a budget estimate of $1,190,700. for FY21. And the bills that will go out for FY21 are about $2,800 lower than that amount. So our original budget estimate, it was within 0.2% of what we had anticipated we would collect on that enterprise. So that enterprise is level funded for most of the items. Repairs and maintenance is level funded in the enterprise. Leases and contracts, there's a decrease of $3,530 due to that shift we talked about earlier with the highway operating budget for the materials management, all being shifted into the stormwater budget from highway, but also the sweeping and catch basin cleaning being shifted to the highway budget. The storm drain cleaning item is level funded in that. The leases and contracts, as is the detention basin maintenance. Professional services, there's an overall increase of $12,300 in that line item. There's some new expenses associated with that. There's the People GIS Stormwater Asset Module, which is part and parcel to the quick asset tool that we're using to track all of our stormwater enterprise assets. There's updates that are required under the MS4 permit for stormwater mapping. That's a $5,000 line item. The engineering design for drainage system and improvements kind of gets to what Mr. Asnavorian was talking about earlier, where we're coming up with a better plan to address the capital needs, and we're putting aside money to design those improvements so that we can maintain the infrastructure in a better way. The street parking design assessment is part of the MS4 permit requirements. We have to come up with a plan where we assess the requirements in the zoning, subdivision, and other town bylaws, and come up with ways that we can promote green infrastructure and reduce impervious area. So that's a $10,000 item there. And then we're required to do a phosphorus source identification report within the permit requirements, and that's $35,000. You'll see that there's a reduction in the IDD investigations in leases and contracts, professional services, of $30,000, $30,700, and what that is as we've been doing these outfall investigations, we had estimated that we'd run into about one occurrence for every 10 outfalls where there would be a problem. We'd have to do an investigation, and we're seeing that number is significantly less. And I know it's part of the measures, but we inspected 480 outfalls last year, and we had, I believe, less than 20 instances where there were issues out there. So that number's on the good side. That's a significant decrease from what we had anticipated. And the other change is the chloride reduction plan that was required in FY21 was a $25,000 line item, and that's no longer in the budget. There's a decrease there. The postage line item is level funded. All other supplies and expenses is level funded with the exception of the IDD investigation sampling kits. There's a significant reduction there. It's almost cut in half, reduced by $9,300. And that again is because of the fewer number of instances of illicit discharges that we've detected with our outfall testing. There's no dues and memberships funded here, and staff development is level funded. That rounds out the changes in the stormwater enterprise budget, operating budget.
Okay. We'll go around. Rich, questions?
I have no questions.
All right. Susan, do you have any questions on the stormwater?
No, thank you.
Dave?
No questions.
Tom?
I'll defer.
Hey, Jason?
No questions, sir.
My only question would be, and I think you touched on it at the beginning, but basically, how is the stormwater, collections going, and how is the whole, expenditures? Is it in line with what we budgeted? I think you mentioned that right off the top.
We are in line with our budget for FY21. I don't have the numbers to speak for collections on that. I don't know if Brian or Richard has that information. We could get that for the committee. But we've undertaken our capital projects as well as our operating projects in line with the budget we had created for FY21.
Okay, and so how would you describe how the first year has gone?
I think it's going very well. To kind of speak to what Mr. Asnavorian was talking about earlier with the infrastructure needs in the town. Since I've been here, it's been almost 7 years now, we did a design for one culvert project. And currently in the FY21 budget, we have 2 under design right now. So through the institution of the enterprise for stormwater, we've been actually able to ramp up our efforts and undertake more of the infrastructure projects that are needed throughout town.
All right, great. So it's doing what it's supposed to do.
Yes, definitely.
Good.
Rob, if I
Yeah.
can, just to give you an idea on the revenue, if that's okay?
Yeah, great.
So through the first 2 quarters, and I'll get an updated number going into tomorrow night, but through the first 2 quarters of collections, which is through the end of the calendar year 20, we collected $543,138. We have another $619,000 left for the remainder of the year to meet our budget. So, it looks like we're in decent shape.
Great. Okay, any other follow-up questions on the stormwater budget?
Yeah, Mr. Montori, just to follow up on that, can you convert that to a percentage of how many bills went out, how many bills were paid? Are people complying?
Yeah, Richard, let me pull that out of Munis and I'll get that information to you guys.
Okay, thank you.
I'm just looking at a total bottom line number.
Okay. Thanks.
Any others? Was that our last one, Brian?
That was the last one that I have for you, yes.
Okay. Anybody have anything else for the DPW?
Keep up the good work, guys.
Thank you very much. Good job.
All
Take
right.
care. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess we can let you go. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Richard, do you have anything else for us?
I do not.
Do we have any committee reports? Say you, Tom. Tom, any reports, elementary school or?
At this time, Mr. Chairman, the so-called school project is on schedule with the snow days that we've had in the last month. I think they lost a couple of days pouring concrete, but it's pretty much they're going to be playing catch up there for the next month. With regard to the Green Committee met on the 9th of February, I believe. And there's been a reorganization of the committee as far as offices. And we're starting to formulate the final application for the grants for the middle school, which is lighting, not lighting, but VFD drives added to the pumps. The Heathbrook School, completion of the lighting project. There's a small portion, about 15% of the school, that hasn't been completed. And we're looking at a major project, over $100,000 at the senior center for new boilers. And that, excuse me, that application, I think, is due April 9th. We'll probably meet just to finalize the approval of the submission of the application. There's a planning and development a gentleman named Rob Anderson is getting involved with the PACE program, which is property improvement for green. This is owner property improvement, and it can be the town too, but in the near future related to green projects. Is that right, Richard?
I believe that's correct, Tom.
Yeah. That's the update with the green. The elementary school building committee will be meeting, I believe, on the 14th of March.
Okay. Any economic development committee reports?
Chairman, I was looking at our list week. I see there's a meeting coming up next week for the Economic Development Committee. I looked on the rolls. It looks like I'm not on that committee anymore, or I've been booted.
Booted? Didn't you just get on it?
I thought I did, but I'm not on it. But I do want to thank Richard for this beautiful binder, the bylaw committee. Thank you, Richard. I hold this with pride. Thank you. It's been some great reading.
I thought you'd enjoy it.
Yeah,
Read it for me.
Are you on the bylaw?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Yeah, so we get something from Ms. Wellman, Board of Selectmen, about looking at all the bylaws for each committee and whatnot. So I guess I could send that around, see if anybody has any comments, what might be a good change or whatever. Is that the same committee that we're talking about?
This is just the general bylaw committee.
Yeah, that's the same
town
one.
bylaw.
Yeah, okay.
Oof.
So if you're on it, should we filter any suggestions through you, Jason?
I have a meeting on the 11th, and I will let you know from the contents of that meeting.
Okay, that sounds perfect.
Roger.
We don't have anything in regards to recording secretary timesheet or meeting minutes. Does anybody have anything else we should discuss before next week? Next meeting is next Monday. What do we have? School? Is it school department? Richard?
No, next week we're doing capital budget. The week after you're doing school department and then Shawshene Tech.
Okay. And have you sent us the capital yet?
No, I'll send it to you after tomorrow.
Okay. Nobody has anything else? We look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Dave. Roll call. Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Jason?
All right.
Chair votes aye. We are adjourned. We will see you next week.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Aye.
Be safe. Bye-bye.